We're on our way to the hospital to get induced for little Bunny's arrival. Little Bunny's naughty and hasn't decided to come on its own.
Induced and introduced. That's a dad joke for you, little bunny.
That's
the first
Marshy's first dad joke.
Yeah.
Hi guys! Today I'm going to be talking about my labor and delivery story with this one. It was the best day ever. Obviously it was like, how long ago? How old are you? How old are you? You're nearly 2. You're 21 months. It wasn't like yesterday, but labor is not something that you forget. No, you don't forget it. No, maybe, but I haven't forgotten. I think everybody's story is so different, and I know that when I was pregnant, I really enjoyed hearing about other people's experiences so that I could sort of prepare myself for what to expect. So there is no footage in this video. If that's what you're looking for, I'm really sorry, but we just weren't thinking about that at the time. I had an emergency induction at 41 weeks plus 5 days because there was no amniotic fluid left in the uterus. I say emergency like this because that's what my obstetrician said when she phoned me to tell me that I was going in to be induced. However, their behavior was not very urgent, even though I was freaking out. All the doctors and nurses were pretty laid back about the whole scenario. It was a long weekend in New Zealand when I went in to have Raphy, and I went in on the Friday night at about 7 p.m. When I got there, they put us in a room with the most beautiful view. Like, I know that doesn't seem important, but I was just like, wow, this is like the best view in Auckland, right here in the labor ward. So then I got in the bed and they hooked me up to the heart monitor, and I could see Raphy's heartbeat going, and once I had that and I could see that he was fine, I felt a lot better about the fact that they called it an emergency and there was no amniotic fluid, and I didn't really know what that meant. At about 9 p.m. they applied the gel for the induction, and while they were doing that, my family went across the road to get us dinner because the cafeteria was closed in the hospital, and I think we missed the dinner service. My family came back and we ate dinner, and it was all very relaxed, and then they left so that we could get some rest while we waited for labor to start. Mark was on a chair in the corner, which was there for dads. The nurse offered me sleeping pills, which I initially rejected, but very quickly realized how amped up I was, like both with excitement and nerves about that I was about to have a baby, and I was also about to go into labor, and I had no idea what that was going to feel like. I was really like buzzed. She gave me the pills and I went straight to sleep, and Mark had the worst night ever trying to sleep on the chair. The next morning at about 6 a.m. I woke up and I was like, oh, kind of feels like my period's coming. I wonder if this is labor. I called the nurse in and she was like, oh, that it could be. I mean, you haven't had the injection yet, but you know, the gel could have worked on its own. They had a look and I wasn't very dilated, but they were pretty sure that that was the beginning of labor. So they decided to give me the injection to move things along. At about the same time, Mark realized that his chair that he slept so uncomfortably on the whole night could have reclined. And so he had zero sleep, and he could have actually had quite a comfortable night. However, I was about to be in a lot of pain, so, I mean, obviously it would have been nice if he slept well, but I mean, bad night's sleep, labor, bad night's sleep. I think you can get what I'm saying here. So at about 7 in the morning, I was like, okay, this pain, it's like a period pain, but it's really starting to feel bad. Like, not unbearable, but you know, like if you were at work, you might leave early to go home so that you can like lie in a bath and feel sorry for yourself and eat chocolate, like that kind of period pain. That's what I was feeling. I did not realize an induction makes your labor pain a lot more intense, a lot quicker. So if you go into labor naturally, like the first day, you might feel something, but it's not going to be unbearable, and slowly lead up to this painful active labor, which generally is just the last few hours of labor. When you are induced, the pain comes quicker than active labor. So even though I was only a little bit dilated, like the pain comes a lot faster, and I did not realize this, and I was like, wow, people do this without drugs, like for hours and sometimes even days. Like, that is not possible. Like, I'm obviously, like, I thought I had a pretty good pain threshold, but I'm obviously a huge wuss, because I was like, there is no way that I would manage to do this. Then about 8 o'clock, the doctors were doing their changeover, and the nurses were doing their changeover, and there wasn't really anyone around, and I was like ringing the bell, and like, okay, this pain, this is pain now. Like, it was like the worst period pain you could possibly imagine. But I was like ringing the bell, come nurse, please, I want to have the epidural as soon as possible. I mean, I'm here, I'm in the hospital. Like, this is the benefit of being induced, is that you're already in the hospital when you go into labor. There's no like wait until your contractions are 4 minutes apart before you leave the house kind of thing, which I was like, are they bleeping crazy that I would have waited until they were 4 minutes apart? And I am not coping. 4 minutes apart? Are you kidding me? Like, I would have not waited at home until they were 4 minutes apart. As I said, I didn't know they would have not been that bad had it not been an induction. So when the nurse eventually did come in and I asked for the epidural, she was like, okay, well, you know, it's a long weekend and there's limited staff, and it turns out that all our midwives are busy, and if you want an epidural, you need to have a midwife with you so that she can monitor the drugs. So I was like, okay, what does that mean? You mean I can't have an epidural? Please, like, do not tell me that I can't have an epidural. I went into this pregnancy knowing I was going to definitely be having an epidural. So she was like, well, we can get you a private one. So yeah, bring the private one, like whatever she costs, like that's fine. We had to wait for her to arrive. She was about half an hour away. So once she came, I was like, sweet, now I get to have the epidural. Like, pain was bad now, and they were coming pretty close together, but I was still only like 4 centimeters dilated. The nurse was like, okay, like great, you've got your midwife, but you know it's a long weekend, right? So there's no anesthetist available because there's only one working this ward and he's busy for like the next 6 hours kind of thing. Are you kidding me? They were like, okay, well, we can get you a private anesthetist. So it's just, I didn't even ask how much he was going to cost. Like, they could have told me $1 million and I would have worked it out after, like robbed a bank if I had to, I was taking those drugs. So they were like, okay, well, he's not here at the moment, but we'll give him a call and get him here. And she came back a few minutes later and she was like, okay, the anaesthetist was on his way to go fishing for the long weekend, but he's turned around to come back to help you. Great. So at this point they said they were moving me to the labor ward and I had to walk there. So I had to walk through this little tunnel which is like private for the maternity woman in labor to walk from the one ward to the delivery suite. I guess that's so that you are not like screaming in pain while walking past strangers in the regular hallway. This felt like the longest hallway in history. The period pain from hell that was crippling my entire body. Eventually we did get to the labor suite. I like literally sprinted, like when they showed me the door I was like, I can do this. Like jumped on the bed, like okay, waiting for the anaesthetist now. So by this stage it was about 10:30. I had been in painful labor from 6:30. So that is a long time to be feeling what I was feeling. Like I don't think I could have coped much longer. While I waited for the anaesthetist, they gave me gas and I was sucking on that gas like it was the oxygen that I needed. It did nothing. Next time I would rather go with nothing than the gas. The gas didn't take the pain away whatsoever. I felt every little bit of that pain. I just felt dizzy and nauseous. The only thing that helped was like that I was biting down on the little machine that I was breathing through during the contractions. That biting kind of helped, you know, kind of to get through it. But the gas just made me really disorientated. So that kind of brings me to the next part of the story when the anaesthetist arrived. And in my mind, he was wearing shorts, a wife beater, a fishing hat, and gumboots / Wellingtons, whatever you call them. I even think he was carrying a fishing rod. Like, okay, I know logically the fishing rod was not there, and maybe not the hat. But the rest of it, I really wish that we had filmed it so that I could be like, wow, he wasn't wearing that stuff. Or be like, you see, I told you that he came in his fishing gear. I mean, he was on his way. Like, he didn't go home and get changed. Like, he came straight from his car to go fishing to come and put a needle in my spine. So he was dressed to go fishing. What the hell is this like bogan anaesthetist? Like, is he going to paralyze me now? Like, is he even the actual doctor? So he walked over and he introduced himself and he said, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. And he did. He talked me through the entire thing. And as he said what was going to happen, I felt it. And it was amazing. Like, I was so impressed with this guy, even in his fishing gear. After that, the day was amazing. I did not feel the pain. Like, I still felt like I could move my legs. I know they say that you can't, but I'm sure I like tested it in the bed and I wiggled my toes and things and I could move my legs. I felt like I could get up and walk around, but they wouldn't let me, and I had like a drip into my spine. So, I mean, that wouldn't have been a good idea to be walking around. But I really did feel like I was completely in control of my body. I just didn't feel the pain of the labor. I know like some people do want to feel it and they feel empowered and in control. I really just wanted to have the pleasant experience and then have a beautiful healthy baby at the end. There were some hiccups along the way. Raphy's heartbeat kept dropping and then it would come back up. So the midwife was keeping an eye on it and she kept calling the doctor to tell her, keep her in the loop with what was happening. But the doctor was like, okay, if it goes down like too often or too much, like we're going to take you in for a cesarean, which I really didn't want to do, but I wasn't going to argue. I mean, whatever they say, I was going with. it did keep dropping off throughout the day, and I had to move from my left to my right, and every now and then it would happen again, and this alarm would go off, which was pretty scary. But I did trust that the midwife wouldn't let anything bad happen to me. And at about 3:30 the doctor came back and she was like, okay, I think we're going to like not put any more epidural in, because soon you're going to start pushing, and I want you to be able to feel the contractions for when you're going to push. So they stopped the epidural and they checked how dilated I was, and I was like 8 centimeters dilated. And then she came back 4 o'clock and I was still 8 centimeters dilated. So she was like, okay, maybe you can have a little bit more epidural. And then she came back at 5 o'clock and she was like, okay, you're 10 centimeters, ready to go, let's start pushing. So everyone was leaving the room and Mark was just going to stay. And as my mum was walking out, I was like, Mummy, just stay with me. I feel like this is a 2-person job well, 3-person job, including myself. 5-person job, including the obstetrician and the midwife. I had Mark on my one side and my mum on the other side, and they told me to push, and I was pushing, and my mum was pushing, and she was like pushing way harder than me, which was really distracting. And I was like, Mum, you're going to poop on the floor. And the whole time I was like, I'm going to poop. I just know it, I'm going to poop. And I kept saying, I was like, I don't want to poop, I don't want to poop. And my obstetrician was like, if you poop, I know you're pushing right. So I was like, okay, she wants me to poop. I pushed really, really hard, and I'm convinced. I mean, I couldn't feel what was going on, but like, I was like, did I poop? Did I poop? Mark, tell me the truth. Like, did I poop? And he was like, I didn't see anything. And my mom said she didn't see anything, and my obstetrician swore to me that I did not poop. I think they just don't want to tell me, because like, there is no ways that I could push as hard as I did and like not even shart a little. Too much information, but you know what I'm saying. Once my mom stopped trying to push out a baby, I was concentrating a lot better on how I was pushing, and he still wasn't really coming, and we didn't know why. And my obstetrician said, well, I think we're going to we're going to move you to the surgery room now, because if he doesn't come in the next 30 seconds, he's not going to come, and you're both getting tired. So I was just like, no, I can do this. And I literally like envisioned pushing him out, huge push, and I just felt this like relief. That was his head coming out. Now he came out with his hand on his head like this. So that's why it was so difficult to get him out, and then it also caused a lot of damage to me on the way out. Also, when he came out, his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, which we couldn't tell from the previous scans because he was so low in my pelvis, and that's why his heartbeat kept dropping off, which was pretty scary. Like, had we known that, probably would have gone and had a cesarean much earlier in the day. But they took it off immediately, and he cried and everything was fine, and they like put him straight onto me, and I was just like, oh my god, like, the baby, like, what is this human? I love him already. That didn't last too long, because they had to then take me away to stitch me up. While I was waiting for them to set up that surgery room, my obstetrician was sitting with her hand inside of me, like stopping the bleeding. She was like applying pressure, like, you know when someone cuts themselves and they like apply pressure. She was doing that in me. I had a feeling, like an intuition, from the moment I took pregnancy test that I was carrying a boy. I don't know how to explain it. I just felt like it was a boy. I told my obstetrician this. I said I didn't want to know, but I feel like it's a boy. And she was like, well, I don't know, I haven't looked, but I mean, like, intuition, like, what are you, a witch? Like, you don't know. And then when he came out, they like put him on my chest, and they were like, and I just heard them say, "It's a boy, it's a boy," and I was just like, I knew it. Like, I wasn't even like, oh my god, I have a son. I was like, I told you I had a son. You didn't believe me. Mother's intuition. Just saying. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was informative for you. So if you want to see these videos plus other videos that I'm going to be doing, subscribe and like. Alright, so let's say thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, Peter.
Don't forget to